Welcome to Masters of the Nerdiverse. This is my inaugural podcast. I'm really excited to get this started, so I'm going to go ahead and jump right into it. My name is Mike G. I'm the host of this podcast, and I'm really excited to get this going for you. Not really know where to start or how to start, but this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship between me and you, the listener, and I. So I would like to just kind of give you an idea of where I'm going to go. And that the first place I'm going is to my week. What happened in the week of Mike? You got to really think about it this way. What didn't happen in the week of Mike, which is everything. And what did happen? Well, let's get to it. Mostly this week, I really played a lot of Injustice 2. I'm really loving that game so far. I am hating the AI in the game. Just drives me absolutely crazy. Why do they make it this way? I don't understand. The input reads, the difficulty spikes, but I guess that's what keeps it challenging. And I really don't want to go on to online because online players, as you know, are as toxic as the Avenger with the mop and the messed up face. So there's no reason for me to go into online unless I'm really feeling playing a friend or a family member who wants to get whopped, but that's okay. Those times will come when they're ready. Maining, I don't really have a main right now. You know how it goes. You play the entire cast to get a feel for all the characters. You kind of fall in love with each and every one of them a little differently, except Black Adam. No one falls in love with Black Adam. So just kind of going that way with him. Don't even want to pick him. Really liking Green Lantern, but that's a carryover from the first Injustice. And I'm really liking The Flash, and for newcomers, I'm really loving Darkseid. He's really fun to play. And Swamp Thing, but that's nostalgia talking there. So, really loving Swamp Thing, really getting into Darkseid, loving a lot of Poison Ivy, even though I never really play her, but I really want to get into her at some point. Other things I've done this week: watch a bunch of weird horror movies. I love horror. That's one of my left ventricle is just horror. Just bumping in the macabre in the evil intent of man's desires. That's pretty much what goes into my brain on a daily basis. So I caught up with a bunch of horror movies. I watched Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, a family favorite, as it were. And it's always a pleasure watching that film. Really reminds me of when I was a kid and I was 9 years old watching Hellraiser with my mom and dad, because that's how we rode. And I think I came out pretty normal. I'm pretty well adjusted, I would say, as a adult man. And hopefully one day I'll be able to impart this dark intelligence onto other people. I guess that's what this podcast is. It's just me kind of going off the top of my head and really getting to know everyone out there and giving everyone out there a chance to know me. What else this week? Well, in the role of video games, I've been playing a little bit of Uncharted 4, A Thief's End. I never had a chance to play that game because the pricing never went down, and I just didn't want to pay $60 for a game that's been out for an entire year. So I started finishing that, getting towards the end of it, and it's pretty much true to form. It's an Uncharted game, so it's very linear. The gameplay is solid. The graphics are stellar. The whole brother mechanic's kind of interesting, even though I thought it would be better if he can kind of play as an alternate character. Another player, rather. I think that would be cool if you can kind of play with a friend, a la Journey. Maybe that's something they'll have down the road for the other Uncharted game that's coming out soon. The name escapes me for the moment, but that's okay. That's not a topic of discussion. For the rest of my week, I've been pretty much preparing for this podcast. It's been driving me kind of crazy. The way I'm coming to you now is not the way I'm going to come to you later. I plan on having my tech a bit more advanced, and I plan on having things go a bit smoother than this inaugural run. I kind of feel like Steven Spielberg on the set of Jaws trying to get Bruce to work. One thing will work and then another thing doesn't. What do you mean the shark can't swim? It's a shark. Why can't it do these things? Drives me batshit crazy. But that's okay, because we will mush on and we will persevere. Now, Usually, I would like to have a co-host on this podcast, so in future episodes, I'm definitely going to have someone speaking with me. But for the inaugural run, I might as well be here front and center, like the Cyclops that I am, meaning the X-Men character and not the one-eyed monster that terrorizes countrysides. But that's neither here nor there. Masters of the Nerdiverse, what it is pretty much an idea I've had for quite some time now. I want to say 1 or 2 years that I've just been really wanting to get off the ground as a podcast that I would like to kind of go over the weekly events, meaning my weekly events in the community being comic books, toys, video games, pretty much anything you can find in a KB toy store is a topic of discussion on this podcast. So you can kind of look forward to that every single week. I plan on having this being a weekly podcast one way or another, by hook or by crook. So you can get used to these coming out every week. And unless it's a force majeure, I've been struck by lightning and now I have the powers of Shazam, I'm going to have this podcast out and ready to go. And what I really would like to do is go into our weeks, the week of actually the industry, and a couple of good articles that have actually popped up over the week, and kind of see what happened in the world of the Nerdiverse here. The world of the Nerdiverse of the Nerdiverse, actually. It's kind of funny. Well, speaking of universes, let's jump into the universe of Dragon Ball Z. I'm a huge anime fan as well. I am a well-rounded master of the Nerdiverse, so anime is going to be a topic of discussion here if the news allows me to talk about it. So in this case, we're going to be going into Dragon Ball Z Fighters could come to the Switch if enough fans request it. Now, it's kind of funny to me how these things work out with game developers, but I can understand that it comes from a place of budget. They want to make sure that they want to hit all their major markets, PlayStation, meaning Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo's starting to dip their foot really into third-party games, even though it's just something that they've been doing in the past, but at a very small capacity. So I can see how the Dragon Ball Z Fighters development team would have left this out, depending on, fan backlash. Who wouldn't want to play Dragon Ball Z Fighters as on a bus or on an airplane or anywhere that you're going mobile? And if you've seen this game, oh my goodness, it looks good. It looks ridiculously good. I can't with it. The graphics, Arc Systems is making it. That's the creators of Guilty Gear. It's one of the prettiest fighting games you'll see in this large world now, and that they're helming the combat system and the effects and the 3D that appears 2D graphics. My goodness, I can't wait for this game. This is definitely going to be a day one buy for me. Since the days of Ultimate Battle 22 and Dragon Ball GT Final Bout, I've always loved Dragon Ball Fighters. Especially the Budokai Tenkaichi games. Those are always super fun for me. I'm going to be definitely maining Boo because that's my boy. We'll kind of see how those go. In other news, let's go and keep this pushing. And I'm just going to bounce around here. And producer calls Venom in Silver and Black adjacent to Homecoming. Where do I start with this? So this is actually quite stupid, the way it all kind of played out. So at a press junket for Spider-Man Homecoming, guy who's really pretty much handling the entire Marvel Universe, Kevin Feige, and the former head of Sony, and pretty much the person who holds the keys to the Spider-Man movie universe, Amy Pascal, were at a press junket for Spider-Man Homecoming, just really going over what they can talk about the film, because the film hasn't been released yet. And so she pretty much was asked a question that she's been asked every day, or every time that this has been brought up, is this Venom movie quote. You can hear the quote in my voice, and the Silver Sable and Black Cat movie part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And as of now, Kevin Feige's been like, no, hell no. We're not going to say one way or another, but you can tell he's leaning more towards no. That's something Sony wants to do, that they're liable to do that, even though we all know it's a dumbass idea. Gritting my teeth as I say that. So in the interview, Amy decides to say, well, yeah, they're part of the cinematic universe. Yeah, they're right down the street. They're going to be right there. You're going to see Stark Tower and Venom, and you're going to see Captain America running across the street during Silver and Black, to where you could see the literal Venom in Kevin Feige's eyes as he rolls his eyes the sharpest at Amy, like, what the fuck are you talking about? No. Why would you even say that? Why would you even confirm this? So that pretty much lit the internet on fire, as it were, because we've been led to believe that these movies were spin-offs all unto themselves, something that Sony wants to do with their franchise as it is now, and it's not going to touch the cinematic universe. Well, in recent news, I would say as recent as today or yesterday, Amy then backtracked, as she was probably contractually obligated to do, to say, well, no, they're part of the Marvel Comics universe, but not the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You guys misread me. No, I'm sorry, you misspoke. And there's a giant, big difference, foot-to-mouth insertion. Now, how do I feel about this? I can't stand what they're doing to Spider-Man. It almost feels like Spider-Man is the child in a bad breakup. So the mom is going to kind of use the child as she would, to get back at the father, and the father's using the child to get back at the mom. And the child is the only one that's been suffering the most in this weird tit for tat that's going on between these two major companies. Do I wish someone would just give Marvel the money to buy back their property so that this could all be dead in the water? Yes, but just because you have the money doesn't mean someone's going to sell it to you. And that's, I think, part of the problem with Sony. They've had this beautiful racehorse that they've ran into the ground, and the horse is old and tired, and it just wants to go to greener pastures. Are those pastures on Marvel shores? We all seem to agree, yes, don't you? Don't you feel that Marvel would handle Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four? Oh, the X-Men breaks my heart. In that capacity, I mean, better than these other studios that are pretty much using them as marketing campaigns and not really understanding where the heart of these characters come from. It's extremely frustrating having to sit through this and kind of see DC with their full suite of characters ready to go. They can do whatever they want with whoever they want. And it really is kind of a funny way that this has all turned out. But I digress. How do I feel about this news? I feel it's silly. I feel it's coming from a place of weakness, honestly, on Sony's part. They're really trying to do what they can before the kid goes off to college, so to speak. So I'm just going to move on from that. Let's see. First Deadpool 2 set photo has a Spider-Man 2 Homecoming callback. Loved the first Deadpool. It's a very good movie, honestly. Didn't expect to love it as much as I did. I went to go see it on Valentine's Day when it came out. It really blew my mind. And I'm extremely excited for the new Deadpool 2 because Ryan Reynolds, he deserves this. He's such a good actor, in my opinion. And this role was he tailored this role to himself. So I kind of can respect that. And the first photo, if you haven't seen it, I'm just going to spoiler it for it. It's just him pretty much laying down in front of the X-Mansion that they've used 101 different times. What does this tell me? That there's going to be more than 2 X-Men in this film. It's been reported that this film is going to have a higher budget than the original, which you would think so, because the movie was literally a blockbuster, not like the DC villain, but it's actually made a lot of money, so I expect more cameos, bigger, better, badder, and uncut, as the South Park boys would say. So really excited about that. A bit of non-news, but I love Deadpool nonetheless. Speaking of Deadpool, wasn't he so good in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3? Wasn't that just great, being able to play as Deadpool? Him using the actual energy health bar to hit you with on his level 3 maximum. That was great, wasn't it? Too bad. Chances are you're not going to see him in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, because Capcom is being very coy with what they're going to be, how they're going to be utilizing their, I would say, bastard characters that they don't have full control over, such as the Fantastic Four, meaning Doom, to a lot of fans of the Versus series, and the X-Men, meaning mostly Wolverine, Storm, Magneto, as I like to call him, Swagneto, Poppy Collar, 3 times for your boy. And it's extremely sad. It makes me cry 13 tears, exactly that number. Because it started with X-Men Children of the Atom. You know what I mean? It started there. That was the beginning of it. And for them to be alienated, not just from the video games, but from all Marvel, to kind of just be put in the corner and shunned, it's, as a fan of Marvel Comics, it's painful to see them go through this. And this kind of harkens back to the whole Spider-Man thing, where they can't use these characters, so they kind of put them to the side like toxic waste. And just think of a Marvel game without X-Men in it, it just breaks my heart to kind of think about that. It makes me not want to play it, honestly, because, and then they had the gall, oh my goodness, they had the gall to say that, well, people who would play this game now don't remember the X-Men because they're so far removed from the Marvel Universe because it's been 10 years since Iron Man came out. And I'm like, really? Who do you think is going to play this game? It's not going to be 12-year-old Timmy who just got his PS4. It's going to be fans of the game. They're going to pour hours and money into this thing. It's kids don't, I'm sorry. And I know there's exceptions to the rule, and you know what? I really don't care about that. I'm just saying children don't play fighting games like that. And maybe they play them on their phone, yeah, but they're not going to play them on a PS4. They're going to be off somewhere playing on their parents' tablet. They're going to be playing Injustice 2 on the iOS. They're not going to be learning one-frame links, you know, with Doctor Doom, or they're not going to be learning it with Nova or Gamora. Nobody wants that. People want familiarity, and people want characters that they care about. And I, for one, am feeling a certain way about it. I really don't know where I could go in regards to picking up this game if certain staples and certain faiths aren't restored in this franchise. Because honestly, Dragon Ball Z Fighters blew this game out of the water at E3, and it just looked amazing. It's everything that pretty much the Versus fans has been wanting, is fan favorites and a good system looking good. If you compare the sprites between, and they're not even sprites, it's actually 3D modeling between Dragon Ball Z Fighters and Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, it's laughable. It's absolutely laughable. And to think people are going to, what people are going to choose that are really going to pay for these video games, they're going to choose the latter. And that could be adjusted. This game is not coming out for quite some time. Has plenty of time for this game to turn itself around. But in the meantime, as it stands now, Capcom PR, it's just not great right now. It's kind of horrible, and it really makes me worry about the future of the franchise. So I just really want to go and kind of comment on that. Moving on. Speaking of moving on, we're going to move on to the payday that Gal Gadot did not get for Wonder Woman. Gal Gadot played Wonder Woman in the best DC Cinematic Universe film to date. And apparently she was paid a criminally low amount. I want to say maybe a third of what Henry Cavill got for, I would say, Batman vs. Superman. And I guess that's part of Hollywood, which is sad to say. And I think her payday is going to come later because time will tell. And I think she's now going to be the stalwart of the DC Cinematic Universe. She's going to be the Robert Downey in that sense, because no one's really backing Henry because Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman rubbed them the wrong way. People were downing Ben Affleck, or people have affectionately started calling him Batfleck, because of his history with superhero movies. But she's a fresh face. This is what the DC Universe needs. They don't need stars to be in this movie. They need fresh faces who are going to encapsulate the character and become stars through the movie. Like Gal Gadot. I mean, I had my reservations about her in this role. She was underweight. She kind of didn't look like the character, but she killed it. She acted her ass off. And I mean, she deserves a higher payday, and I think it's going to be coming soon. So that's really what I want to say about that. And speaking of paydays, anybody want to get into any kind of money matching? Because Capcom is entering a cross-licensing agreement with Bandai Namco, which makes sense because they're really tied into the whole Tekken versus Street Fighter thing. And what that is a game that came out, which is Street Fighter versus Tekken, came out a few years ago, to very minimal acclaim, but it came out nonetheless. And they've always rumored a reverse on that, a Street Fighter versus Tekken. And the game is going to be coming out soon. And hopefully we've seen signs of that, as Akuma is in Tekken 7. Still don't have to label long, but what are you going to do? That kind of upsets me. Waiting for my boy to get back in that. Speaking of upsetting news, and I think this is hilarious, HoloLens Super Mario Brothers looks dangerously fun. Just had to pause there. HoloLens augmented reality Super Mario Bros. Looks dangerously fun. People are going to die using this thing. People are going to die using this thing. I mean, people can barely handle their Pokemon Go's running into the ocean trying to catch Clefairies and shit. No one's going to be able to handle jumping on top of a cop car trying to get a one-up. Human beings have not reached a level of sophistication where they can handle augmented reality in a public setting. Now, if you want to do this in your backyard in the safety of your confines of your home, that's great. But don't set this shit out in the world where humans exist, where there's cars and dogs and oncoming traffic. This is only going to be bad. This is only going to be horrible. It's not going to end well. Horror movies will be made in the future about what's going to go on with this thing. Speaking of horror shows, Ron Howard is taking over as the director's chair in the Han Solo film. The director walked away from the project of the Han Solo film because he incited creative differences, pretty much meaning Disney was like, our way or the highway. Didn't want to handle it, a la the way the director of Ant-Man kind of stepped away, Edgar Wright. And I kind of feel like what I think about this is, one, Ron Howard can direct whatever he wants. It's Ron Howard. He's gonna kill it. He's a veteran director, and I'm sure that this script isn't going to be rocket science. So he's definitely going to be able to knock it out the park. But what really bothers me, and what's kind of disturbing to me, is that how rigid Disney is with their directors. And it's kind of a double-edged sword because they want these new cutting-edge directors to direct their movies so that their movies can have a different feel. But at the same time, it seems like they're limiting their ideas of what they want to do with the movie. And I get that, because you need those limiters, because otherwise you'll get Steel or Battleship. How about that? Where there's just like, it's in name only. So you kind of have to balance that and have a kind of quote unquote character Bible that the directors have to follow to maintain the heart of the character. And some directors don't want to do that. And to those directors, I say, kick rocks, because these characters are existing properties, and if you want to do something completely different, then rename it something else. And that's just how I feel about it. Speaking of naming it something else, today was big news, huge news. Nintendo announces the NES Classic with 21 stellar games. The Super NES Classic. It's going to have games like Star Fox, Super Street Fighter Turbo, Super Mario World, Zelda Link to the Past, all that fun stuff. I just don't know what to feel about this, because I wanted a Nintendo Classic. I thought it was pretty cool. Have some of the old school games. I can plug it up at people's houses. We could just play. I can just plug it up into my own TV if I want to do something a bit more binary. But was I able to find one? No, because Nintendo short shipped the shit out of these things, and you couldn't find them anywhere. And then when you went to go on Amazon or YouTube, they were hiked up $200-$300. So are they going to, hopefully they'll have the right mind. Oh, speaking of which, I want to Switch. I want to be able to play Link. I want to be able to play the new Legend of Zelda. Can I find a Switch? No. Am I going to be waiting in line for a Switch? No. You should stock your hardware based on the need of the public. Stop trying to shortchange these launches so that your system seems exclusive. I mean, I really would like to get hype about this, but am I going to be able to find one? No, because they're going to shortchange it. They're going to shortchange the American shipping for this thing, and you're not going to be able to find it. And people are going to go nuts and it's going to be released around Christmas, around September, where people are doing their Christmas shopping, and innocent bystanders are going to get knocked upside the heads with Xbox One Xboxes trying to get a NES Classic. So, interesting enough there. And that's about it for the news. That news that I cared about, rather. So the news segment's going to just really fluctuate depending on what's in the news and what I feel like talking about at the moment. At this part of the podcast, I really want to get into another format, which I plan on doing, which is questions and answers. So I would like for you to email me at mastersofthenerdiversecast@gmail.com. And they say, Mike, you said that kind of fast. What is the podcast email if I want to send a question? It's actually masters with an S at gmail.com. Masters of the Nerdiverse Cast at gmail.com. I still need to get used to saying that. And send me your questions. I'll be able to answer them. No question is too weird or crazy or nerdy or personal. I'm a very open guy, so you can pretty much ask me what you want, and I'll answer it. And if I don't, that means I don't want to talk about it. Gotta love it, right? So here I'm going to bring to the end of my podcast, and I really want to start ending my podcasts in the vein of what I'm going to be doing next for this coming up week. What am I excited about? I'm excited to play some more Injustice. I'm starting to get to the tail end of that game where I'm got most of the characters I want to get to level 20, so I may dip my toe in multiplayer, even though I hate playing against people. Speaking of playing against people, I want to play some more Overwatch because I love that game, and I like kind of turning my microphone off and just going into pub games because I don't take it too seriously. I just kind of go in there to burn some minutes after work, to decompress. Want to finish Uncharted 4, get into that. I want to marathon the Hellraiser movies because I love them so much, and those need to be in my veins every once in a while. And I want to plan for this next podcast, and I'm really excited to kind of keep the podcast going. This is a short one because this is my inaugural flagship episode, and I really just want to lay out the ground rules of what really is going to be going on with it. I want to thank you for listening to my 2 cents. And next week, I'm going to hopefully have a co-host so we can have someone to talk with, something to bounce ideas off of, and see where the week brings. So, in this case of Masters of the Nerdiverse, I would like to greet thee farewell, and there's always go that one step beyond.